is episode number 470 of the Health and Fitness Podcast, brought to you by InnerFight in association with our food company, Smith Street Paleo. Get on a meal plan or just get online and just order something, smithstreetpaleo.com. Andre, I am massively excited about this show.
Me too.
Why?
Something exciting is coming up.
Something exciting is coming up. Mate, we are on number 470. That's a lot of podcasts. We do it for blood, sweat, and tears, just for enjoyment. And we're now speaking to some professionals.
Exactly.
So we're going to look like outsiders and rookies. This is 470. Thanks a lot for tuning in, folks, and for all of your support. And a massive welcome to the show, Mr. Rami Zeidan from Anghami. It's the hardest word for me to pronounce because it's an Arabic word. Mate, thank you so much for joining us.
Hello.
Mate, welcome. Give us a little bit of background on yourself, mate, and tell us what, for those that don't know, and I know 55 plus million people do know what Anghami is, what is it?
So Anghami, in a nutshell, is an on-demand streaming platform. It's one platform with over 30 million songs of Arabic and international descent, so it's from all over the world for people to enjoy anytime they want, whatever they want, really. It's streaming in general is the biggest thing right now because it's where all the habits of consuming music has gone to. It's the easiest to consume, it's the lowest data consumption to consume. It's all about personalization, so you don't start with a song and you end up with a video on Conan O'Brien, but you know, and the nice thing about it is it's so immediate and it's convenience. Whenever a new song is on from your favorite artist, it's in your pocket like then and there. And what we've done on Anghami is we've sort of redefined music streaming through technology. So we've got amazing features like creating videos from the app itself, sleep timers. We've developed our own quote-unquote Shazam feature that's coming up soon, and there's a lot of social features that are there. So we're more of a music entertainment company than a streaming app, but this is...
Mate, let's jump back to that. Anghami was founded 10 years ago?
No, we started... this is our 6th year, so 2012
so
when
not
we
even
kicked
10,
off.
2012. So give us a little bit of background on the company, because you've come into, as a brand or as a company, you've come into the marketplace. iTunes was already at the races. I guess SoundCloud was pretty huge then. Why did Anghami come in? What was the sort of motivation and objectives?
So when we first came in, the main objective or mission was to fight piracy. With the iTunes model and people not wanting to pay for money, piracy sort of exploded. And monetization to the artists was a very, very big deal. And the industry was on the brink of, bankruptcy, give or take. And we know from global numbers that the income to revenue to music industry was kind of falling down, up until 2016 when the music industry started making money again and there was a growth of 3% in revenues. And we call that the first tipping point.
Right.
And that's why we started. We said we need to uplift the music industry in the Middle East, and we need to have a dedicated platform for music in the Middle East. And there was a lot of educational and disruptive habits with users who were used to going to the store next door and getting a USB filled with songs.
Yeah.
And, it's nice to have 3,000 tracks on your USB, but you finding the song that you want to play is very, very inconvenient. We thought we needed convenience and we needed to fight piracy, and that's why we hit our first million users in 3 months, and we hit our first 10 million users in 1 year, and we hit 50 million users in 3 years. So people had a gag for such services. And obviously then 2 years ago Apple Music came to the market as they saw the potential, and that was sort of their roadmap to replace iTunes. And then now there are more competition coming in, so we're very proud to have built the infrastructure and have regulated the Middle East market so that now it's appealing for the global players.
I think that's one thing that immediately, I remember being at one of the festivals you spoke about, Links before, one of the big marketing festivals a few years ago, and everyone was talking a lot about Anghami, and I was like, these guys have just come into a global music business and just gone, we're going to do our thing. And everyone was talking about Anghami.
I mean, look, there are lots of markets like China, Russia, Middle East that are now being driven by the local services for two reasons. Number one, we don't just understand the music scene, we understand the culture. If you look at the Khaliji genre, for example, The Khaliji genre is not necessarily anyone who sings in Khaliji. Iraqis and Kuwaitis and Saudis are 3 different subgenres within Khaliji. So unless someone understands the dialects and the culture and the back end of how things are going, it's not that easy to personalize music. And at services like Anghami, it's all about the next song that plays. If that next song is not the right song, then we have a service called the mixtape. Because we also realize that people get bored from playlists very fast. So with the mixtape, you can actually put in the name of 3 artists that you're really in the mood to play. You just hit start, and it just creates a playlist for you for 50 songs based on what you selected. So you never get bored of what you're given. There's a lot of gameplay there, and I think that's what's allowing us to maintain leadership. And we're sort of now moving away from just streaming. So 2 weeks ago, we announced that we're now beyond a music streaming company. We are a music entertainment company. Because we're doing 2 new things. Number one, we're starting to produce content in collaboration with artists. We're not a label. We do not want to be a label. But we do have data. We have 1 billion streams every single month. That gives us a lot of data that allows us to say, there's a gap here no one's filling. There's a trend here no one's replicating. So we start identifying artists and saying, look, what's your next project? Would you mind tweaking it this way? We'll co-fund or support or market or put in a contribution from our end in some format or way. And then we started saying, you know what, let's push the bar a little bit. Let's start getting global acts with local acts and sort of bring that learning from abroad. So we did a song with French Montana, Masari, and Maya Diab from Beirut, which was a remake of a classic song by Amr Diab called Noor al-Ain. And that song exploded. We sponsored the release by Marshmello and Amr Diab together, and we're working on multiple bigger collaborations on that front. And there was one of the most amazing pieces of examples was we sat with a Lebanese act and we said, look, you need to sort of up the tempo with what you're doing, and we feel that no, on the contrary, he's actually doing very well, but he has a very romantic element to him. And that's why people love him. He's actually one of the most rising talents, and he's sort of borderline tier 2, tier 1 at the moment. And we said, look, we have an idea, and we want to pitch it to you. And we pitched it to him, so we brought him in. He actually did what we call an Anghami session, which is an unplugged version of what he generally does. And then we pitched that original to him. And then everything went great, and he had a concert on the day when we decided to launch that original. And he stood there on the concert and he said, look, guys, I'm very proud to share with you the latest song that I have. So here we go. He starts with the chorus and everybody starts singing with him. So he pauses and goes, hold on. We just launched a song today on Anghami. How do you guys know the words? And then he went with the chorus and everybody starts raving. So I have the video on Twitter. It's just crazy. So that's the power of Four Belief, identifying the right vibe that the users are missing and sort of working with artists who have the potential to deliver that. And then the third thing we're doing is we're moving into live entertainment. We started in collaborations with Jazz Festival and Step Music, and then we learned a lot, and we saw that there's a bigger gap on, one, doing a massive music festival across the region, and there's also a bigger gap on creating gigs, smaller concerts, because that's absent. It's either a 15,000 piece, and I remember, I was raised here, I remember we used to go to Peanut Butter and Jam back at Wafi every Saturday.
I remember.
And that's missing today, and the local scene is missing that. So we want to fill that gap as well.
So you guys are the middleman.
I mean, we're now a bunch of people who are passionate about the music business, and we're seeing lots of gaps, and we're trying to accelerate the process of adoption to get those trends back, if that's not there, or to get new trends up and running. And that's why we believe, it's no longer just about streaming. When you have 73 million registered users, it's no longer about just streaming. It's about, how can you start contributing to the music industry, to the artists, to the people, to the consumer, and sort of give that formula that allows us to grow as a business, obviously, but also contribute to whatever is happening, whatever should be happening.
Dre, did you ever... Dre's a lot younger than me, so we have quite a good standing joke, and this is a great point to come in. Would you have ever had a Sony Walkman, like with the cassette tapes? Or
I've seen those.
You've seen
I have never actually used one, but I've seen them.
So you were straight into compact discs, CDs, or just into USBs?
Into the small iPods.
Oh, wow. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I've done the Sony Walkman part.
No screen.
No screen, just see. But mate, I mean, I guess then we're coming from a little bit of a different standpoint. I remember I grew up here as well, and I remember sort of Sattel High Street. They'd have these, they call them recording shops, and you'd buy these cassette tapes. And not sure what relevance this story is, but I'll share it with you. I mean, because I used to travel back and forth to boarding school, and my Walkman wouldn't last for the whole time of the flight. So it wouldn't last for 7 hours. So what you'd do is you'd get to the end of the tape and you want to go back to a song, and you just put this cassette tape through your finger and just spin it round to rewind
to get to
get back. So, but mate, I mean, you're in a different era, and that's why it's quite interesting. What's your consumption of music been since you sort of started consuming it, and especially related to, because we should really go into a little bit of fitness since this is the Health Fitness podcast, but what's your perspective on things, mate, of how music is changing?
I think that music has become a lot more available, which has been super important. Like, we have Spotify and all those things. Like you said before, even my friends and I used to like pirate stuff, and because nobody actually wanted to go on iTunes and buy a song. Yeah. Especially not, if one of the friends that anyways pirated and sent to everyone for free. Because we want things that are easy and accessible and right there, right now. Exactly. And not just, that full CD of that one artist. We want one song from that person and one song from that person. That needs to be super fast and available. So I think my consumption of music has been growing with the years as it's been becoming way more available. It's been
but you only have 8 songs on your Spotify playlist.
I have like 7 playlists.
This guy will work out for 2 hours with 7 songs on repeat.
Keep it consistent.
But what's the talk about working out with music as well, mate? Because I think that's quite important. I think. What's your take on it?
I think it's become a more and more regular thing for most people.
Yeah.
I don't use it too much because I never know when I go to a competition if there's going to be the right music or that music, so I don't really worry about it too much. But I know that for a lot of people in general, that music is a huge factor. It keeps them motivated. It keeps them going. It can really play a massive factor. Like music can be such a motivator. Like listening to the right song at the right time can make a massive difference for people. And we see it with clients. And we see how they interact with each other, which mood they're in, based on what kind of music is in the background. You can't create the vibe that you want unless there's the right background music.
And to be honest, it's very tough to create a workout playlist.
Yeah.
Because between whether you do, CrossFit or you're doing running or you're doing weightlifting, unless that music is at the right tempo, it's just going to mess up your whole workout.
How do you do it then on Anghami? Like, how would you guys put together, and I like what you said before, like you choose a genre and then it just, I mean, Spotify does that. Are we allowed to say Spotify?
You're allowed to say Spotify.
We maybe dig into
we're
Spotify.
All part. Look, in our case with competition, we've learned a lot from Spotify. They were the first player in the market to sort of crack the model. And they are where they are globally, and we're at some point in time the media was calling us a Spotify of the Middle East.
Wow.
Now that they're coming to the Middle East, we're like, fine. I mean, it's good competition. Hopefully, we'll work together on growing the industry, not fight against each other to burn it. So there's big excitement on us, growing this industry and getting global players in, because we just can't grow this industry on our own.
On your own,
But back to the workout playlist. The way we do it at the moment is actually, so we're moving into what we're calling a phase 2 on workout creation. And in phase 1, it was just about creating as many playlists as possible and hoping that the users will find the playlist that they like. And I think if from my personal standpoint, our playlists now cater to the casual workout, people who work out casually. But if you look at the professionals or people who work out more seriously with a stronger routine, it's hard to find the right playlist for them. So we're now working with, it's just started, so it's not scaled, but we want to work with instructors and get instructors to start curating playlists for us. So we're starting to work with some boutique gyms here and there to say, look, let's work together on making Anghami the official source of content at your boutique, and your instructors would curate the playlists, and they could be branded for you. It's exposure for you. It's good content for us. And then we can learn on how to create a different playlist for a CrossFit class or a circuit training class or a cycling class, spinning class, or for runners. And that will then allow us to push the bigger ambassadors of people who work out, who probably are more likely to pay for it. And it's working well, and I've learned it myself. when I'm doing short runs, I'm listening to like heavy dance, house music.
Yeah.
When I'm doing long runs, I literally shift to piano covers because I just don't want something banging in my head, and I want to focus on my breathing and my, I just want to keep going. And the last 2-3K, I just take off my.
Well, we were having this conversation this morning when I was running this morning. Tarek was running, and he was saying, like, how do you run without music? And I'm like, a lot of the time, I've never run with music. I'll listen to a lot of podcasts, a lot of audiobooks and stuff. But a lot of the time, I'm like, I could be running, and half an hour could have gone by, and I'll be like, what are they even talking about? And I just take it out. Like this morning I listened to it, and everyone should listen to this. We'll talk about favorite podcasts, but Joe Rogan interviews Alex Holland, the guy from Free Solo. Really cool podcast. And I listened to that for like 45 minutes, and then someone was going to run with me. But I think that's one of the interesting things. As you said it in sport, it's like how do we actually make that playlist? For us, it's really hard as well.
So
here
individual,
at the gym.
right?
Yeah, and I'll sit some days, and if I'm teaching, I'm teaching a couple of days. Okay, I'm going to get on it, and sort of driving in the car, and shouldn't really be doing it, but putting together a Spotify playlist, and I'm like, this is going to be it. And you turn it on in the class, and everyone's just like, what is this that we're listening to? Like,
we need to get you guys some promo codes for Anghami to get tried. Because what we always tend to talk about is, at some point in time, people only thought that we had Arabic music only because of the name.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
So Anghami is my tunes, and people thought we were only Arabic music. And then
is that what Anghami means?
Yes,
my tunes.
My tunes in Arabic.
So you've really bastardized iTunes.
Yes,
you've just gone. I love it.
We've bastardized a lot of things to get started, but then we've gladly built our own identity.
I think you've taken it into your own way, something quite special.
I mean, if you look at most of the brands here in the region, if you look at the government entities, everything relates to Salik and Anghami.
Yes.
It's always Miras or Amar. It's always that Arabized name that represents what you do. So we took on from that trend. It's just choosing that and assuming that if it's CrossFit, it has to be electro German trance. I mean, not really, but
he knows about CrossFit.
But you guys can really help us. I mean, help the fitness professionals, because I know for us trainers, like, we're trainers, we're not musicians. Like, we don't know, like, if you've been coaching a long day, in the end of the day, you're almost just gonna play what you kind of can listen to. If there was like a perfect playlist or a variety of playlists that you can pick and choose from, you can focus on the coaching more than like, oh god, what's the next song?
DJ.
Or, oh, not that song again, or like people are sick of that. If because people really do.
It's always the same music.
It's the same.
It's because of that, and that's what we want to put on the table. We want to say, look, the era of that massive gym that everybody just goes to is not there anymore. And there's a lot of specialized I don't know what they call them, warehouses or gym locations or fitness hubs where you currently go there to do a specific workout, whether it's MMA or whether it's CrossFit or whether it's circuit training or whether it's spinning or whether it's whatever it is. And we can play a big role by saying, look, we have 30 million tracks, just like any other streaming service. It's not about how many tracks you have anymore. It's about what you do with them and the data you have. And our data is split by, I know the BPM of every single song that's there. I know the tempo and the key for every song. So if we sit and we understand the head, so this workout requires a heartbeat of people are gonna its intensity will get people at a heartbeat of X. We can then play around and say, show me the songs of that BPM, and let's create the best. Do we want remixes? Do we want originals? Do you want to give music songs that they've never heard, so it's just the vibe of the beat? Or do we want to get covers or remixes of songs so that they're also familiar with the song and they get excited? And this is the stuff that we want to do with the community and sort of start working with communities and not just consumers.
How good would it be though? Like, because we teach a 1 hour class, and we've got a system and we like it and it kind of works, and it's basically about a 10-minute warm-up. Then we have 15 to 20 minutes of strength, which generally for strength half of them want gangster rap, half of them want like Linkin Park or whatever.
That's true.
And then there's a 15 to 20 minute workout where people, they do respond a bit better to like housey dance sort of music. I'm
high tempo stuff,
like really high tempo stuff.
Yeah.
And that's why, like Andre says, we're always like, okay, the strength's finished now. We'll turn 50 Cent off. Shit, what's the next playlist? Where's that good song? And to try and pump it up. So that actually would be. But you said something earlier that you're relying on the instructors to be curators. Just please don't do that, because we're probably the worst. Like Boz will put stuff on and it's just like, oh my god, Matt only listens to
Tupac or Biggie.
Tupac, something like that. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there. Mate, let's jump out of music and let's jump into sort of what we do. We're 470 shows in. Why have you guys moved into the podcasting? What's happening there, and what's going on?
So, as I said, after reaching a certain threshold of growth, we wanted to see where else we can contribute. And as an audio streaming or music streaming, audio is our game of play.
Yeah.
Our natural next move was to move into podcasts, because that's the next scaling and trending phenomenon.
Right.
It started actually with us wanting to create shows about music. There aren't a lot of editorial shows here about music. You don't have the Sway show from Global. You don't have the complex formats. You don't have that old MTV grid that was there. That's not there anymore. And people are consuming audio more and more. They say, if you look at the Gen Zs and upcoming generation, they are spending 4 to 5 hours with their earphones on. It's the earbud generation a day. So
stats.
And if you think about that, then they're probably not going to listen to music for 5 hours. So how can we keep Anghami to be their main source of audio consumption and audio play? And it all actually started by coincidence. I was presenting at Dubai Links in February. I was talking about the power of audio, how it's emotive, how it's memorable, and all that stuff. And there was people from the podcasting community, and I threw up that stat and I said, almost 80% or 90% of the consumption is music, and there's a growing phenomenon of audiobooks and podcasts. And then Twitter exploded. When I was done with the presentation, I was looking at the feed. And I had one of my pictures, and then the slide behind me, and everyone talking. And I said, guys, let's meet up. And then we sat and we realized there are two things missing. One, everyone's on a global platform, so then they're diluted with the global content that's there. Nobody's discovering them, or they're not being discovered enough.
Yeah.
And two, they weren't able to put everything in one place. So we said, let's create a community. We'll call it MePod, so Middle East Podcast Forum. And we put together an actual forum, and we launched out a sort of snowballing effect of, guys, if you're into podcasting, want to start a podcast, already have a podcast, don't know what to do, come in to Dubai, to N5, let's sit and discuss. So we had this half day session with almost 200 people that were there.
Wow.
And at that day, we had officially launched a podcast tab on Anghami. And we said, guys, we're officially learning with you. We're officially creating the product. And as we talked with a lot of people felt that we had, from a technology perspective, we had a better product for two reasons. Number one, we have on our content, on our music player, we have lyrics and we have music videos. So lyrics becomes the show notes, natural, that's there. But then music videos becomes the trailer of the podcast. So if you have an hour podcast and you do a 3-minute trailer, people can choose to either consume your trailer in video format or listen to the whole show in audio.
Wow.
And to them, and then they looked at what we call an artist page, which we made it a podcast page now. Yeah. When you have all your shows in one place, and you have, and on other platforms, you have to have a certain number of views or plays or shows in order for you to get your own page. With us, naturally, you get your own page. You get your own dashboard. You get your own analytics. You can control what you upload. You can give us an RSS feed. You can give us a direct. So we actually said, what's missing for you? And we built it.
Wow.
So now we have, I think, over 20 or 30 shows, or around 200 episodes of multiple. We have social, we have food, we have society, we have, and we're trying to push the mark to sort of fill in more gaps to get more variety to the users. We have Arabic, we have international, we have gaming, and then we're hopefully going to do a marketing campaign now to say, look, guys, now that the product is working and everybody's happy and everything's flowing, let's start scaling this together. And then hopefully the biggest ambition is, once we scale this enough, we're going to start monetizing this for everyone. And if someone's making $1 today, hopefully then future model will allow them to make $5 or $3, and then hopefully $15 in the future. So we're in it for the community, like we're in it, like how we started our music journey.
I think it's
but we're
super
also
cool
learning.
because we obviously struggle a lot with iTunes, like UAE store, Danish store, English store. Like suddenly you're going up the chart, or you're not in the chart, and there's no, because of the way the regions that iTunes have done it. And then I don't know. I don't really know that many people on Android, and I know I should, but Stitcher is also a little bit sort of all over the shop. So I think that's what, like, we're a number of episodes in. It's like we're not sure as podcasters which way to how to grow it.
And that's the power of Anghami. Today, we are OS neutral, so we don't care if you're Android, if you're iOS, if you're whatever you are. We're also technology neutral. So we're on mobile, we're on desktop, we're on PlayStation, we're on Apple TV, we're on CarPlay, we're on Android Auto. Any piece of technology that can play music or audio will have Anghami on it. We're actually compatible with Alexa and Google Home. We're just waiting for Amazon and Google to open up the platform in the region. But we're ready. We're voice compatible. And that's what we live for. And we're 100 people. 65 of us are engineers. Our youngest engineer.
You're only 100 people in the company.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal.
75 million users, right?
75 million registered users total, and 100 people.
We need to think about our business model. We have 22 staff and 250 members. Their proportion, your proportion is way different.
They don't sleep, man. They work 24/7.
We're doing the right thing, though.
Probably your economics are better than ours. I mean, the music streaming business globally is not profitable for anyone. Not even Spotify is profitable, or many platforms are still losing a lot of money. Right. It's because of piracy. It's because of alternative sources that are just giving music for free without monetization.
So how does Anghami make money then?
So we make money in two ways. The bulk of our users are actually free users, so we make money off advertising. And our edge in the market is we are one of two, or maybe the official mobile platform. So if you want to advertise on mobile beyond banners, Anghami is the way to go. We have API solutions, we have facial recognition technology, we have image recognition technology, and the list goes on and on stuff that we do. Audio ads, programmatic targeting. We have something called emotional targeting. So that's one thing that's allowing us to grow, people like Facebook and Google, to get a good share of revenue in advertising. The second game of play for us is subscription. So that's where we really make the money.
How much is it to subscribe?
It's actually $4.99 per month.
Wow.
We have student offers that are 50%, and we have
he's still a student.
And we have what we call the family plan, which is 6 accounts for the price of 2 or less.
Wow.
And basically people can pay from the website on credit card, from the Apple Store, from the telco that they're with. And with people like Du, for example, if you are on a postpaid plan, you automatically get Anghami Plus for free.
Oh, wow.
For people on STC in Saudi, if you
just don't get any coverage to download the songs. Or
I mean, there's always Wi-Fi, but
we won't rinse Stu, but I mean
But those are the sources, and now we're moving into doing concerts, into doing original content, and sort of pushing that through and getting content monetization with advertisers who also are hungry for branded content, because the formula of creating 6 episodes of a show to put online on Facebook doesn't work anymore as much as it used to. So music is now at its hottest peak. So we either are the leaders of the industry who are sort of making the best out of it and saying, look, if you're a brand and you want to create music content, come to us first. If you like what we hear, we work together. If you don't like, just do whatever you want. But there have been cases and cases and cases of people trying to do music through creative agencies or creating music through some freelancers, and then ending up with what sounds like a 3-minute ad versus coming and working with us, and we understand the formula. We are part of the community working with producers who are creating amazing content to create something really, really cool. And we have 2 signed projects for 2019. One kicks off end of Jan. One kicks off hopefully in December. We've signed around, I think, 25 tracks with rising talents from the region.
Wow.
We're really excited to be pushing this through.
Mate, I like what you said earlier about creating concerts here, and talk to us a little bit about that. Like, because I think our community doesn't go Well, some of our community might go out to nightclubs till like 4 or 5 a.m., but I think they are quite a cultural bunch. What can people expect from what you guys are going to do on that level?
So there are a couple of things that we're doing. Number one, we're creating a new format of festivals that brings together people of different taste. So it's not just getting a hip-hop artist or a house artist or an Arabic artist on its own. We're practically bringing it all together because from our data, we know that people who listen to, I don't know, Marshmello also listen to this Arabic artist, also listen to this rapper, and we can sort of put that combination together. So that's on the festival part, and we want to do that multi-market because 30% of an actual concert in Dubai is sometimes flown in from Saudi, but you get 3,000 people from Saudi, but there are 15,000 people that want to attend the concert. So why not do the concert in multiple markets at the same time? Obviously, this is not our game of play. We have partners that we're working with. Who are funding and sharing revenue and managing and all that stuff. We've got partners like NBC, who are the biggest TV network, and they have an on-ground setup. So there's a bigger game of play, and our office in Los Angeles, head by Sal, who is a music veteran, who also handles The Weeknd and French Montana and Nav and Belly and Masari, and who's also part of the Mavericks group and the Billboard and Live Nation and stuff. So he also is playing a very big role in helping us do this. The second part that we want to do is, and it's the hardest because the economics are crazy. We're trying to collaborate with hubs where we say, look, let us not talk money first. Let us set up the trend again, and then the money will come.
It'll come later.
Anytime we go and say, look, we want to do something for rising talent. Yeah, well, I'll open up from 9 to 11, and then at 12 I have to open to the public, and you need to pay me this much. And we're like, all right, so maybe not you. And then we'll start sort of working this out until we say, look, maybe we need to work with retail brands. Bershka not too long ago did a mini concert in their store in one of the Emirates as part of a bigger, and you're still giving stage to the scene. There probably were 30 people because that's how much the entrance fits, and people were waiting outside. But it's a start, and we want to bring that casual look. I don't need Drake to come in from the States for me to go to a concert. I would love to go to listen to, I don't know what her name is, because she has a good vibe, sit on beanbags and really enjoy a Saturday night chill. And then obviously we want to work on something on the Arabic front for families. We see a lot of trends in ripe markets and and so forth. We have a model in our head that we're trying to kick off. Now that the competition is coming in, I won't talk about it yet. But as soon as it's out in the public, I'll let you know.
How do you think your brand can help create awareness about health and fitness and help grow it in the MENA region?
I think we've been trying to work with DTCM on the DFC challenge for 2 years since they've launched. And we haven't been able to crack the exact model yet. What we did this year is we put together a DFC, what we call a power up, price down discount. So you get Anghami Plus at 50% discount no matter who you are by using the promo code DFC 30x30.
Get on it, guys.
So with that, we said, look, this is our first contribution. Our second contribution is we want to continue doing what I was talking about, is trying to start working with multiple fitness professionals to come and say, look, some people struggle with the music. Let's start with that. If music is not your thing but fitness is your thing, let's get your thing with our thing, because we know music, and create ultimate playlists for users and say, this playlist is a 1 hour running playlist, and this playlist is a 1 hour sprint. If someone can sprint for an hour, that'd probably be Marcus. But break it down to people, and then eventually try to sort of sponsor classes if we can. So come and say, look, Anghami, we have 85% of our users are under 35. 30% of our users are under 20. So if we're able to get those in early to come and say, look, there's a class on Wednesday, it fits 40 people, come and join and test it out yourself. Bit by bit, we'll be driving footfall. Bit by bit, we'll be building that fitness culture from the youngsters itself. Because everywhere you go, I'm a mid-30s guy. Eventually, I got back to fitness now because I had high cholesterol levels, because I have kids. But I was at my peak of my fitness when I was 20. And then I got married early, and then I lost my way.
Can't believe you're blaming it on your wife.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Anyway, I need to stick it somewhere, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't lazy.
No.
I was focused on the home and family. But then,
so good. He's so
I have
worried
twin
his
girls,
wife is
man.
going to listen to this, and his twin girls on his brand new podcast app, and she's going to. Anyway, let's carry on.
So I think there's a lot that to be honest, we need to also talk to a lot of fitness professionals to understand what's missing in the market.
Yeah.
There's become a fragmentation of, fitness is not just going to the gym and lifting weights anymore. And fitness is not about even using weights anymore at some points in time. And fitness, there needs to be a general awareness on this. And if we are able to replicate what we did with the podcast community, by doing a fitness community that is clear on what's missing and what needs to be fixed, I'm confident we can develop many, many things. Even if we end up building podcasts in the future, that's a 30-minute game of play, of audio, of music, whatever, and an instructor talking over it, telling you what to do. So there's a lot that can happen, both technically or on a curation level, or just on podcasts, on creating shows of the myths of what you really can do and what you can do and how to get started. When I just got back to my fitness game, a lot of it was mental. I needed to really, really get over the fact that I'm lazy and, get started. Once you get started, you're warmed up, you're off. You're never going to stop. And then you force yourself into the routine, and then you get the food game on, and you get a couple of friends in. And so eventually it was a bigger mental game for me to get back. And I think that's what we need to push. And a lot of people get scared by looking at other people doing their runs or doing their jumps, and I can't do this. I'm like, start somewhere. Walk for 3 kilometers and come back home.
It's super cool that Anghami is involved and actually trying to. I know there's business at the end of the day, and everyone will get paid, but actually to go into that area is super cool, mate. You said something there that actually is giving me an idea. It's very interesting, like a podcast that could be a fitness routine with some music on top.
Yep.
From what you found out so far from the podcasting community, and this is completely selfish, this question, what is the sweet spot of, like, Joe Rogan speaks for 5 to 6 hours.
Yeah.
We've done 3-minute shows. I've listened. One of my favorite shows, and I actually thought about it earlier, is Desert Island Discs, which is a little bit of music, a little bit of talk with someone. What's your thoughts? What's the experience or research that you've done so far into, like, what should a podcast be?
So to be honest, I think today, I'll take a step back out of podcasts a little bit.
Yeah.
If you look at the different stats you get from different platforms, so Facebook recommends seconds, 30 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, or minute max. YouTube recommends 3 to 7 minutes. So every platform, because of the nature of the content that sits on it, has its own lengths. Netflix could be an hour and a half. So at some point in time, the type of the content defines how long it could be. If a podcast needs to be 3 minutes, there's no need for it to stretch for 10 or 15. If a podcast requires an hour, then it's an hour. And from what we've understood from the podcasting consumers, not is if they're podcasting consumers and they love podcasts, they're more likely to listen to podcasts more than anything else. And if they like a show, they're going to stick to it. Right. So there's a lot. It's like football. You don't care which station is broadcasting it, as long as you watch the game.
Yeah, okay.
So I think it's the same thing here. If you like a podcast, you're going to listen to it no matter how long it is. And that's why in our launch of podcasts, we're saying, I'm not going to tell you there's a podcast called X on Anghami, come listen to it. I'm going to do a small video about the guy behind the mic so you can meet Marcus from the InnerFight podcast, and then you're probably going to like the character, and then you're going to go to the podcast and check it out. You're probably going to like what you hear, and then you're going to...
That's super unique. Because that's what there's not.
It's a people's business, right? Podcast is a people. It's about the people.
And it's such a bad overview. Like, if you go on iTunes to look at our podcast, how can you know which are the most listened shows or most recommended?
It becomes an album cover game. It's not an album cover game. It's a game of meeting the guy behind the podcast.
Right there.
It becomes what we did with creating trailers so that you see the 3 minute before you listen to the 1 hour. If you like the character of last Friday we have a podcast called Basil Meets. This guy started a podcast just wanting to talk to people. If you listen to his first podcast, which was very awkward because he wasn't ready for it, and you listen to his latest podcast now, he was so comfortable in his seat, and he was doing an Al Pacino impression with someone who actually does impression, and it was really fun to watch, and it was really fun to listen to.
Yeah.
So I saw the 3 minutes. I'm like, I really want to listen to the whole thing now.
Yeah.
And it sort of kicks in, and and our contribution will start saying, look, the data says you're losing listeners at minute 20 or minute 30, so you need to start making your podcast shorter.
Yeah.
Or you know what, your rate of full plays is 70% versus an average of 12. You probably can go longer, or basically stay doing what you're doing. So data here is what we're offering as well, is going to help us say, look, you don't need to stick to a format. There's no magical formula of is it 3 minutes or 20 or 3 or 5.5 or 6. I think it's a game of what do you want to talk about, and how much can you talk about it without having to talk just to fill time?
Yeah.
And then just put it in, and then are you talking about what people really want to hear? I mean, I think there's a lot of people on a fitness level who just want to hear how to get started mentally and food. People think, my old coach used to tell me, Rami, lose weight to work out. Don't work out to lose weight.
Yeah.
And that sort of changed my life back in the days, because I used to sort of say, I'll get started after I lose weight. I need to work out. He's like, no. It's food before workout, and it's mental capacity before. When I go for a 10K run today, I'm comfortable. I'm closing 10K at pace of 6 to 6:15. When I'm going to do a 13.5, it's just 3 kilometers. I'm pacing 8 because I'm just mentally scared of getting tired. I'm running at 6:45. I'm mentally blocked at 8. So there's a lot of tips that we can give to people to say, look, you know what? Wake up, get down, do 10 push-ups and shower. That's your workout. Tomorrow, that 10 is going to become 15, and that 15 is going to become 20. That 20 is going to become 30 with 5 lunges, and then that 5 lunges, and then it'll just grow into a routine.
This guy's wasted in
you're
Gommi. We need him in here.
But really, that's how I got started, and I started doing that, and then I got to CrossFit, and then circuit training, and then I said, you know what, I can't fit to a schedule. I'm going to start doing my own thing. So I started waking up running for 4K. At night, I didn't feel like running. I got on my bike and I did the 20K around the house. And then I didn't feel like doing something. I got a gym for the house, and then I sold them because I wasn't using them. But
no one does.
But then I got into swimming because it's too hot in the day, and I just swim for a kilometer and a half.
Yeah.
And then I just got used to being active.
Yeah.
And then I started regulating. I said, you know what? In November, in October, I want to run 100 kilometers. I want to focus, and I don't want to run 5K anymore. I run out of breath. I want to do 10K and run out of breath. I want to do 5K as a warm-up. And that's what I achieved so far. And now I'm hoping that I do a 20K by end. But eventually, once you get into the routine and you get that energy rolling, everything just falling through. And it's really cool that, once you start doing it and you start seeing the results, you can't stop anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. Mate, to wrap it up, what's your favorite podcast? I'm interested to see because it's always interesting for us. I mean, so much of what you said has resonated with us. We're almost 500 shows on the platforms now. Like, what do you listen to? You're in the business. It's interesting.
So as Rami Zeidan, I'm very new to podcasting.
Okay.
My contribution to podcasting was to create the product. And, I enjoy a couple of podcasters. I enjoy Basil, what he does with Basil Meets. I enjoy an Arabic team called Mustatfir. They I don't know what Mustatfir means, but they have a combination of shows that are in Arabic, so that I listen to them to learn about a lot about that culture and that the element of angles of how they talk about things. There's a guy called Chirag I also like listening to. He has a vegan podcast and a tech podcast that I sort of get.
That's cool.
So there's a lot. So I'm as you see, I'm hung to the podcasts where I know the people.
Yeah.
Right,
like
and that's what we're saying. And now I'm probably gonna listen to your podcast because not only have I loved the energy that we've clicked from since we've got the phone call, but I'm now part of this, and I want to listen to it and see what's gonna come next. I'm probably gonna go back a couple of some. I was on a podcast 3 years ago with at AUD, and I listened. I had my own episode with Spencer. Sorry, Spencer, I forgot the family name. But he has an amazing.
Spencer listens to this show.
Yeah, I'm in trouble. We're in talks now. Why did I black out? Okay, so he was doing a show about people who have not made it, but people who have stories to tell about the journey and the business. So I listened to my podcast, obviously, because I was there. But then I listened to 3 or 4 episodes of people I knew.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Wow.
I eventually listened to the show. So once you know the person or you click with the person behind the mic, you're probably going to get hooked to the show.
Yeah.
And that's why we're saying the insight here is let's put a face to the name
That's awesome.
on the podcast, because
Super
then
cool.
that's going to drive. And then another thing is what we also see in music, a lot of the content creators are not the best marketeers for their content.
Yeah.
So they're good at creating content, but they don't know how to market it.
Yeah.
So that's what we also want to put on the table. So I'm building the content calendar for the podcast rollout.
Wow.
And I'm saying, guys, most of you are very savvy in creating content. I think this is how we should structure our output. What do you think we should put in there? And
Nice.
then eventually, with their storytelling and our knowledge of how to market,
Yeah.
we can together put a very solid plan that doesn't require thousands of dollars of push.
Yeah.
It'll be a good story and good enough story for things to sort of push through.
Well, we're in with Laura, who just walked past. Didn't walk under the camera, but she walked past us. She did all of the back end to register on the
Let's do
platform.
this.
I think we've put our RSS feed on your platform. So, folks, if you don't like the platform that you listen, Spotify, let's slate them. They never even got back to you.
Yeah.
They just don't bother getting back to
Yeah.
you. So the fact that actually, A, we've spoken on the phone, B, we've had emails, C, we've had WhatsApp, and now I see your face in person is like you're way ahead. But, mate, we're looking forward to what
Same
Anghami
here.
is doing.
Same here.
Congratulations
Thank you very much.
for what the company's done so
Thank you
far.
for your
It's
time.
super impressive and
Cheers, man.
absolutely awesome. And maybe in a year's time we'll get you back in and talk more about where it's gone, because I think it's exciting when it's starting out.
Absolutely.
And then I think, you have the direction you think it's going to go. And, of
Yeah.
course, when there's technology and humans involved, it goes in a completely
Absolutely.
different direction.
Absolutely.
So, folks, please hop over to Anghami app. Check it out. You can stream music. If you like it, you can subscribe. If you use that code DFC,
30x30.
DFC 30x30, you can also get their premium version, which
Yeah.
I downloaded the app after we spoke the other day.
Yeah.
Super easy to use,
Yeah.
just like most apps these days. So, Rami, thank you
Awesome.
so much.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Awesome.
Thank you.